order.
Emmerson, here. Saunders.
Here.
I'm here. I'd excused and we invited April Mason to sit in. Sergeant at Arms Bill York.
Yeah.
Ordinance Officer Jason Cockrell.
Yes.
Is it Cockrell?
Cockrell.
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 Okay, we need to agenda. Amendments to the agenda. We had an opportunity to review the minutes of last meeting, October 9th meeting, and the October 30th special meeting. If so, I need a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer's report.
Okay, last month's balance was $934,380.05. Receipts, $2,816.31. Expenditures, $80,595.47. Leaving a new balance of $856,600.89.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report. Is that what you got?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Have you ever had an opportunity to review the bills? If so, I need a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Clerk's report.
The only thing I have to report is that the election went well, and I'd like to thank all my election workers. They had a long, busy day, and I think they've done a great job. That's all I have to report.
We have a few things. First one, the Skidway Lake Area Chamber of Commerce would like to ask the board to use the Skidway Lake Beach, possibly for an organized event on February 16th or the 17th, 2013. If the event takes place, they will provide proof of liability insurance for the township. With that, can I have a motion to allow the chamber to use the beach?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, because the township had a work-safe year, the workman's comp insurance, we received an upfront 5% savings, and they also mailed us a dividend check for $422.40. So, good job to all the workers in the fire department for keeping everybody safe. I would also like to recognize the election workers that worked during the election. The flow of voters all day was non-stop, and because of their dedication, all the voters were able to were able to vote without any major problems. So they really did it was a long day for those ladies, and they did a really good job. I'm glad to have those folks. We'd like to introduce Jason Cockrell. He's a new ordinance officer. Jason was selected out of four other candidates. Jason has 14 years in law enforcement. And I would also like to thank Steve Pennington for all the work that he did for the township. He did an excellent job, and we were glad to have Steve. Ethel has asked me to explain to the board and the public that she is recovering from an infection in her heart. This condition was misdiagnosed last summer, so they were treating her all summer long for the wrong problem. So it is treatable with IV antibiotics, and she will be able to return to her elected position as trustee. I'd also like to thank and recognize Jim Moore for his years of service to the township. We appreciate it, Jim. We thank you very much. And also invite April Mason to the board. So, thank you very much. And that's all I have. See any changes on that. Okay. Fire report?
For the month of October, we had 7 runs. Mutual aid to Moffett Township, 2 structure fires, 1 chimney fire, 1 assist to Consumers Energy, and 2 false alarms. My additional business, I know last month we had tabled the approach and the driveway in the rear of our barn. I wasn't here last month because we had 2 fires back to back, and I hope I'm not stepping on anybody's toes, but what I would like to see if we could readdress that, and the reason why I say that is because there was a madness to our planning on doing all the structural things down there. And we were doing that to work in the future to get our new truck, which is longer, to get that in the hall, to make it fit. In order to do that, we had to knock that wall out, and this was all pre-planned, Gene and I and all of our guys down there. And that would provide us to put the tanker in the back it in. And you probably don't understand unless you really see what I'm talking about down there, but anyway, that would allow us to get this new truck in our barn. But in order to do that, to get that big tanker, which holds 5,000 gallons of water, very heavy, we have to have a good approach, and we've got to have a very good driveway in the back. I've already got two trucks stuck back there. In order to make that new truck work, I need, if the board will, move forward to get that done, to get that cement, and I don't even know if it's too late for cement or not, but with chloride in there, I'm not sure. Anyway, in order to make everything flow right, I need that truck in the back. And that's the only way it'll work, because the trucks nowadays are so much longer and bigger. So, with that in mind, and if we don't do anything, right now I've got 2x4s down to help the trucks bounce over there on that cement slab that's there. I just don't want to wreck the integrity of that cement. If we don't get the approach on, that big tanker's going to hit that. It's going to break the slab in the barn, and that's going to ruin the integrity of that. And then we're going backwards. So, and again, I hope I'm not stepping on your toes by this, but it's something that we need to do, because in January we're going to be getting that new truck. And if we don't pre-plan and get that done, we're just going to take the chance of getting stuck. And I don't want to bring this up, but it's something we have to think about, is liability. If in fact that you have to move that truck around the back, which is the only way it's going to work, and we have a structure fire, and we end up pulling that truck out, and knowing that we're going to have problems, and we get that truck buried, that's liability for us all. And like I said, I had 2 trucks I had to pull out already.
I'll make a motion and we bring it back to the board.
Motion to have support.
I'll support it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You know, we can discuss it. I'll let you
Gene,
finish.
you wanna chime in?
No, you said it all. I mean, basically, the problem is that the newer trucks have grown and the hall hasn't. And what we did was the only way we could accommodate the new truck, which, as Brian said, is only like a foot or 2 shorter than our main pumper. And but none of the other trucks are low enough in profile to fit in that back door. And that was the big thing, was we thought we could, it's low enough we could get the big tanker back in there, but we didn't realize that we were gonna take this long to get that slab zeroed in, and now we're gonna be, unless the frozen ground bails us out, but you hate to rely on that.
That big tanker takes such a big swing. You know, it takes tremendous amount of swing room in order to clear the building. We don't want to end up swinging it short and ripping our building out, then we are in trouble. So anyway, that's my feeling. I hope I didn't step on your toes, but
No,
it's something that we really need to address.
Yeah,
Okay?
Glenn brought it back to our attention. Thank you.
I'll make a motion and we hire Swanson Excavating to do the fire department work.
Do I have support?
I'll support it.
Any discussion? No discussion, motion and support.
Hang on. I wanted to give this stuff to Here, you can have my copies of the bids so you know what's going on, okay? And that was,
This was after you re-talked to all of them? Or
that's the bids that they
That's
submitted.
just
Yeah.
a bid.
the originals when they
Yeah,
submitted?
those
Yep.
original bids.
And what's the reason for wanting to go with one not the lowest?
Well, what the board was concerned about, and, I did call Brenda and see. This is what they requested, the sick bag and 6 inch, but it's not really explaining everything there.
Okay. And when Brenda and Dave come in to talk to, did they verify that theirs was gonna be the 6 bags and that? According to the specifications of the
Well,
job?
we just did, the only thing I discussed with them was this problem with the descriptiveness, is what we discussed. So. You have to look at, all 3 bids,
Okay,
so therefore you can't ask somebody to change their bid after it's been, brought to the public. So you have to go with what you had. So, it's not fair to the other contractors, so.
so basically they just didn't itemize their
They didn't explain.
submission very well,
Right,
okay.
We didn't word it well enough.
right. Okay, if there's, no further discussion,
I appreciate it. I mean, that's gonna help us all as a township, you know, to get that job done.
roll call.
Okay. Moore,
Yes.
Emmerson? Yes. Saunders?
Yes.
Yes. Right excused. Motion carried.
All right, thank you, Brian.
That's all. Have any questions?
Just one other thing to note to Bill, if we can do the same thing this year for the ice rink, put the plug in it and have the guys try to smooth it down as far as like the grass and that, as best they can. Last year that worked out quite well.
I'm glad to help you out sometime.
You were right on the money last year, that worked good.
I'll be that way this year,
Okay,
if I'm still here.
plug her off and save Mother Nature's water.
Any
Um,
questions?
Yeah, maybe you could get with Bill too before the snow plowing, so everybody's clear on, maybe get
Yeah.
Parks and Recs guys over there, so we know where,
Where to put the snow?
before it snows, yeah.
Yeah, they've been doing a good job.
So, okay.
Appreciate it.
I'm doing, I'm what we're there for.
Any questions?
Still got moaners and groaners, but we still do the best we can.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, board. Appreciate it.
Ordinance officer report.
Since 11/1/2012 till the current date, 11/13, I've handled 7 different cases in the township.
Anybody have any questions, board, or? Yes.
I'm Vicky. Turned in a couple neighbors, I've turned them in probably 3 times. The trailers are trashed. One has been on fire. I don't even think they're livable. They're back by the motel in that neighborhood on Leah Acorn area. We were assured by Pennington last year that they would be taken care of. They're supposed to be knocked down. There are still people living in them. There's trash, vicious dogs, boarded up windows, missing doors, trailer skirts. You have to go right by there at my house. I pay big taxes to look at that garbage. I
Yeah,
mean,
just if you could just call in and give me the address or whatever, and I'll come look at it and take care of it.
And bear in mind too, that if it is, if there was a fire there and they're living there, that's gonna be up to the building department.
oh, there was a fire there years ago and there are
Yeah.
people still living there now.
We had that same,
Trailers?
Hmm?
Aren't trailers the building and zoning?
yeah, there's some of those things that fall under the building and zoning, but if you get a hold of Jason, we'll sort out what is what. But just that we had a situation where there was a mobile home and there was a fire, and then the building department actually issued a permit, and it went on for almost 2 years, but, so sometimes, some of those things are the building and zoning, and the zoning administrator is currently only working 1 hour a day. And that's a little bit problematic for us too, so to get.
The fire was actually underneath the trailer, they put a heater down there to thaw the pipes.
Well, if you would, yeah, give Jason a call, and then we'll sort through that for you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jason?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Commissioners report, so I want to recommend John West too. I want to thank him. John has done an awful lot for the county, and we really appreciate his years of service, John, and it's been a pleasure working with you. We're going to miss you. And
working with you folks.
thank you for being here tonight.
So we don't.
I think the first one was, we did a resolution, commendation honoring Frank Gallinaro, Oldham County Veteran of the Year, and Sunday was designated his day in our county. We going to change our November 22nd meeting to the 29th because of the Thanksgiving holiday. The commissioners sent forth information on adopting a temporary moratorium on the commencement of land uses for waste disposal wells to prosecuting attorney Donna Schills for review and legal opinion. There's some folks that came to the commissioners last commission meeting, and they wanted this moratorium done. We held back, and we had the attorney look at it. This has to do with fracking in the county. So we wanted the attorney to look at it before we did any information discussion or anything on it. The next one was just a map amendment. We did Consumers Energy is moving into the county. They're bringing all their, they're making a building at the west end down down by exit 215, I believe. So we had to change the amendments to the maps for the area for them to be able to build there. So it's going to be a big supply yard. They're bringing all their equipment and everything into Oldham County down here now, so it's going to be good for us. Commissioners approved, we had a deputy sheriff resign, so we moved the part-time officer up to his position, and we're hiring the next one is we're going to hire another part-time officer. We did approve to increase Carol Dare's pay to $45,000 a year to be both emergency manager and 911 director. And that was retroactive to October 28th. We did approve to allow $2,000 from contingency for some electrical meters for 50 amp plugs out at, for 8 lots out at our county campgrounds with the electrical inspector's approval to do that. So I guess some of the bigger campers that wanted to come in, we didn't have enough sites or electricity for them to do that. So this would help that, but we needed the electrical inspector to approve it first. Our last 2 weeks, we paid claims and accounts of $91,000 there. We did approve a 2012 DNR PILT millage resolution. This is real property owned by the state, controlled by the DNR. They don't pay the same taxes that we do. So it's paid in lieu of, it's called PILT, payment in lieu of taxes, and so that's what that one was. And then the commissioners approved the a grant for MDOT contract for the they're putting in new lighting at the airport, and it's a $7,000 grant. And the county and the West Branch, our fee to match that was $175. So that's what that is. So is there any questions?
Yeah, on that real property by the state, so are they still paying taxes?
Yeah, but they don't, you know, they don't pay the full amount that we do.
Oh,
But they do pay that.
okay.
Last month, Pete was talking about refinancing the jail to save $36,000 a year.
Do what?
Refinancing the jail,
Oh.
the jail loan,
Yeah,
to save $36,000 a year. Did
they
that,
save 30,000, I'm not sure how much it is, that's in the process of being done. I don't know that that's been done yet, but, the treasurer has, been in the process of getting all the paperwork and everything done for that.
okay, do you guys have what is the extra money, cause you budgeted to spend that 30,000, where's that extra 30,000 gonna go now?
Well, we'll have to look at that. We're almost $390,000 short in our budget this last year. So I'm sure we'll be able to find, some place to put it, but, the treasurer is, he's gotta go through a whole bunch of hoops to get this done, and, so he's in the process,
Alright, one more question.
okay?
That $45,000 a year that Carol Adair's gonna get,
Yep.
did someone else leave one of those positions or something to,
So Carol was doing both of them.
she's always done both of them?
She's always been doing both,
So,
but she wasn't making very much at, doing both of them.
so 3 times now it's been on the ballot to collect money for 911.
Yep.
And because you said that it's not in your budget, you don't have enough money to operate it, so why are we giving raises when it's been voted
That
down?
raised, that money doesn't, come out of 911. She's, the money that we were going to get for the budget to run, 911 is about $630,000. I don't believe her salary comes out of that. It might, but I don't believe it does. But, this millage that we just, turned down, the people turned down, they would have brought in, it would have been $1 a cell phone, $1 a month. And then, that would have brought in about 200,000. And what we were going to do with that money was, take 100,000 of that 200,000 and set it into, a fund. And, that would have been just for buying equipment. Then the other 100,000 would have went to, the operation of the 911 system, but, it got turned down, so.
So your equipment fund is different than what
Pardon?
your equipment fund is different, totally
We don't have an
separate?
equipment fund. There's, we don't have any equipment fund for 911. That 635,000 is the day-to-day, operation of that department.
Would include salaries too then?
It includes salaries, yep.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Another, I do want to thank everybody. I had a great 8 years. I've met some really great people, and I've enjoyed working with you, and I hope nothing but the best. I gotta tell you, in the last 2 or 3 years, the county has been working great with the township. We've been working really close, and I just hope that that continues. And you've got a great board. You've got people that are dedicated to working with you. And the last thing is, I'd just like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a great Christmas and great.
Thank you, John. Okay, there's no unfinished business, new business. I'd like to introduce Rod Robertson from Robertson and Carpenter. Rod's been doing the township's auditing and bookkeeping for several years. And he's here to provide a few things.
We have completed the audit of the financial statements of the township for the year ended June 30th. And we will run through the township's financial statements briefly this evening, touching on some of the highlights and an overview of the finances of the township. First of all, the opinion in the front is what's called an unqualified opinion. It means that based on our audit, we have concluded that the financial statements present fairly as the township's good as of June 30th, and the financial information operating information for the year then ended as presented. Two other items in the front that are a part of the audit. The first letter that starts, "We have audited the financial statements," is a required communication to the board as part of the audit. And it addresses any significant audit findings or difficulties encountered or uncorrected misstatements, and there were none of those items. The other letter that starts, "In planning and performing the audit," is a communication regarding the township's internal control over financial reporting. And the letter indicates that as your auditor, we have assisted you in presenting the financial statements in accordance with accounting standards. And we are allowed to do that on all of the townships that we work with. We help with that service. It only makes sense from a cost benefit standpoint. I do that for a number of governmental entities, and therefore it's feasible for me to maintain the library, go to the training, and stay on top of that. So we assist in that process. The financial statements are prepared from the underlying records of the township, but we do help putting those into the financial statement format. At the completion of that process, we review them with the township because they are your financial statements. We are only assisting with that preparation process. And we have done that ahead of this meeting to go over the underlying information. Let's take a look, starting on page 11, at the operating information for the year. The first couple of pages and the pages ahead of that are what's called the management discussion and analysis, in addition to the opinion letter. That puts in a narrative format the activity for the township for the year, but it is all drawn from the underlying financial information that we will review. In the first column, on page 11, we see for the general fund, for the year, your revenues were $552,000, expenditures were $478,000, so your fund balance increased by $74,000 from $263,000 to $337,000. Out of those $552,000 of revenues, the biggest part of your revenues, $316,000, is Mills Township's share of state shared revenues, the sales tax dollars they collect in Lansing, and those are distributed based on population. So, and the township had an increase in that revenue as a result of your population increase in the 2010 census. The next largest item in the general fund revenues is property taxes of $120,000. So those two items make up the vast majority of the dollars in the general fund. The fire operating fund is the next fund we'll take a look at. Revenues in that fund were $138,000 for the year. Expenditures were $186,000. Out of that $186,000, $166,000 was operating expenses, $20,000 of capital for improvements during the year. So in the fire operating fund, the fund balance decreased by $49,000 during the year, from $159,000 to $110,000. You have a separate millage that's dedicated to fire equipment, to the purchase of equipment for the township. That's a smaller millage. It brings in $44,000. Capital outlay items for the year were $23,000. So you had a $22,000 increase in that fund balance from $277,000 to $300,000. On the right-hand side, the garbage fund is the special assessment on all dwellings in the township to provide curbside pickup service. The special assessment raises $332,000 that is used only for garbage collection purposes. Your actual costs for the fiscal year were $302,000, $31,000 increase in that fund balance from $250,000 to $281,000. You need to keep in mind in looking at that fund balance that your special assessment for garbage comes in on the winter tax roll, and so at June 30th, you've got 6 months before you collect another winter tax roll. So you would need a half a year's operating expenses in that fund just to carry you through with the township being on a June 30th year end and the tax being on a calendar year. So half a year's expenses would be $151,000 approximately. The other factor is over the years the township has accumulated some dollars intentionally because there's that lag if you find out from changes in the cost of the company providing that service and their tipping fees or gasoline costs or whatever, if there needs to be a revision in the contract, you need to make sure that you're staying ahead of that. And you need to decide that early in the year before it goes on the tax roll, and that needs to carry you through until the next year when the tax money is collected. Next fund is the Gypsy Moth Fund. Property taxes bring in $45,000. The spraying costs for the year for moth suppression were $50,000. So a $5,200 decrease in the Gypsy Moth Fund from $5,500 to $300. The last fund is a special assessment fund for private road maintenance. There are several private roads in the township that the township contracts with the road commission on behalf of those private roads to maintain the roads, and the individuals on the benefited roads pay all the cost of that. So that is strictly their dollars for their road maintenance in that fund. The roads on the assessment totals $18,000. The cost is about $16,000 for the year, so there was a $2,000 increase in fund balance, so a $13,000 fund balance in those funds at the end of the year. I believe there are 13 funds, so 13 different roads that are covered by that. And once in a while, as the contracts renew, there are upgrades required. So in that fund as well, some money is accumulated just to cover some costs if the road commission requires upgrades to continue providing that service to those benefited property owners. Let's go back to page 10. And we see that out of that $337,000 in the general fund, the township board a year ago committed $15,000 of that at the bottom of the first column on the left. $15,000 is committed, as explained in the notes, for a township hall addition. The intent of the board is to every year designate and accumulate funds for that purpose to provide for the dollars earmarked for that at some later date for improvements. That's something that the board can make that designation and commit those funds for that purpose, and mainly in the financial statements to show that intent on out of your fund balance, some projects you have in mind that are going to, those funds are going to be used for. Also out of that $337,000 is about $2,700 that is restricted for liquor law enforcement purposes. The township gets money from the state out of liquor license fees that license holders pay. Part of that money goes back for inspections that the township hires to be performed by a constable, and there's some money that has accumulated there that hasn't been spent that is restricted for that purpose as of the end of the year. When you look at the treasurer's report on the dollars you have, it's always important to look at the underlying detail as to where that money is located, because as we look at the roughly $1 million in fund balances, $319,000 of it is in the general fund that is unassigned dollars that could be used for any legal purpose the board decided. The other dollars, though, the $110,000 in the fire fund, because it was a millage approved by the voters for that purpose, that is all it can be used for. In the fire equipment fund, the fund balance is $300,000. In the garbage fund, $280,000. $275 in gypsy moth, and then the $13,000 in the special assessment for roads. So it's important that when you have dollars that are levied for a specific purpose, they have to be accounted for separately and can only be spent for eligible expenditures as approved by the voters. That gives you an overview. The accounting policies summarize standard policies for all governmental entities. There are a number of required disclosures regarding the cash balances, budget differences, the change in capital assets. There were, in the back, the last several pages, you're required as part of your supplementary information to present the actual revenue and expenditure amounts for the year for the garbage fund, the two fire funds, and the general fund compared to the budget. And there were a few instances where the expenditures exceeded the budget. There always are a few of those because you have services that are rendered in June that aren't even billed until July, so you can't always catch the last minute areas where you're going to go over They're all relatively minor, and they are spelled out in the notes on page 18. But with the dollars involved, there always are some of those instances in any governmental entity because of the timing of not having your final audited numbers available at the time you make that budget amendment at your June meeting. On page 20, we see for the capital assets, the total additions for the year were about $79,000. $9,500 of that was land improvements, $20,000 building improvements, and $49,000 equipment improvements for the year. You're required to submit your audited financial statements to the state of Michigan by December 31st. I will go ahead and take care of that electronic submission for you. There also is a Form F-65 annual financial report that all townships and cities need to submit to the state that has been prepared and reviewed with the board, with the clerk, treasurer, and supervisor, that I will transmit as well. Overall, the finances of the township are in good shape. It's what really helps you out is that state shared revenue dollars based on your population. That $300,000 makes a big difference in what you're able to provide. And then the fact that you have voted millages to maintain your fire department, that's expensive to do that, and you're able to do it because of the people supporting that with millage in the township. It's kind of an overview. Rather than get bogged down in the numbers, I try and present it so that those of you that don't have the numbers in front of you can get a little bit out of it. Any questions of me? If not, we'll move on with the meeting.
Thank you, Brad.
I'll just get it.
Okay, next thing on new business. Thank you again, Rod, for that report. I appreciate it. A couple of months ago, I was attempting to acquire another phone line in the township here. When this is a very busy office, and there's 4 offices sometimes, and there's only 2 phone lines in the township. And so we thought there was an extra line here that the state used to use. And we thought that Charter could just come in and give us a 3rd line. Well, come to find out that that cannot be done. Our phone service was originally installed by Martel in 2000, and the phone service was only designated for 3 lines. So our phone service currently, and those 3 lines are the 2 lines into the township and the dedicated line for the fax. And obviously the biggest problem is that there's not enough phone lines for the offices that we have. So I've asked Martel to provide a quote, which that all the board members have. You'll see 2 quotes. The second quote is a quote that includes voicemail, which we really do not need. The first quote, $1,995, includes 6 new phones geared to connect with the digital system. It's a hybrid type box that has to be installed to manage the phone lines. Would like to ask the board to approve this. Funds would be taken out of the capital gains, government entity portion, and they'll be looking at about $1,995. If anybody has any questions about this.
If we go in with this package here and wanna add more phones to it, then it'll be a big expense, or will they be able to add?
No, the new phone system will take up to 12 lines. So we won't have this problem again. I don't know why the first system was only installed with 3 lines, but it was, that was 10 years ago. So this one will be able to take up to 12 lines, so we'll have more than enough lines. Any other questions from the board? If there's no discussion, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Second.
A motion and support.
Emmerson? Yes. Saunders?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Yes. Height excused. Motion carried.
And that is it for new business. Public comment. Anybody like to So come on, please step forward and state your name.
Vicky Stout. I have a slight problem with the boardwalk decision. I'd like to know about the trick or treating on the boardwalk, whose decision it was to drop it.
This board did not make a decision to drop the trick or treating.
I was told this was the last
That is-
year that
this-
trick or treating on the boardwalk will be allowed without insurance.
Well,
Am I hearing wrong?
the organized event, yes. We've kind of gone through this, we've talked with our township insurance agent and our township attorney, and liability is a very large issue. An organized event, and again, I'll reiterate, we're not trying to get crazy, family reunions, things like that. That's not what we're looking for. The township, the board, it's the board's responsibility to safeguard the township and the liability within the township. Organized events that draw that many people, the organization needs to carry a liability policy, and the township needs to be named. Similar to the Chamber of Commerce, like their events that they have on township property, they have liability insurance. That's not uncommon in this day and age. They're written.
So what's the boardwalk there for if our kids can't use it? I don't have little kids anymore, but I would rather see the little kids on the boardwalk than in and out of the street. The little kids look forward to this, and it's a lot easier on the older people. Why do we have to pay, April, what was that, over $400 for the
The
liability?
estimate I got from my insurance, which is Walker's, is $411.75.
So what do we do with the boardwalk? We can't fish off of it anymore. We have to get a permit for everything that we do on the boardwalk. I could go out there and trip, break my leg, sue the township,
Yes, you could, but it's a protocol that all townships and cities follow, that organize events within their township and or city, those organized events that attract a lot of people have liability insurance. That's not an uncommon practice. I've talked to a Diebold agency, and they say it could be anywhere from $50 to $200. So the expense is not that expensive. The Chamber of Commerce provides a liability insurance for their events, and they're able to.
Most of their events are drinking events too, trick or treat on the boardwalk,
I
as
don't
far as
think
I know.
I don't think the event at the Skidway Lake is a drinking event.
Why can't the
No,
township
I'm
pay
not
for
saying
it?
that. I'm
Pay
saying
for
that
it?
the Chamber of Commerce, all the parties I've been to there, we're drinking. We expect the liability there.
Well, I'm referring to the one at the Skidway. But anyhow.
I'm talking about on the boardwalk anyway, but I just think it's ridiculous. We've got, people trash Skidway as it is. We're trying to make it nice. A nice thing was being done with this. The kids love it, I love it.
We're not disagreeing with that. I think it's a good event, but this board has a responsibility to the liability of the township.
Okay, is the township gonna pay the liability on it then, so all the little kids aren't running through the street and hurt?
The township, it's not in the best interest of the township to start sponsoring other events. It just is not a good idea to do that for the township.
Another question, has a lawyer been hired about this ordinance? Has the lawyer been consulted with on this matter?
This board has not made any decision whatsoever about implementing
I
the
just
ordinance.
asked a question about the lawyer. Has a lawyer been consulted yet about this ordinance?
I just answered your question. Number one, this board has not even entertained any idea in reference to an ordinance. It was mentioned because the attorney did mention that, but this board has not done anything.
What attorney?
The township's attorney, Jerry Braven. And so anyway, this board is not acting in that regard. We haven't even developed a policy yet.
So anything in the township you have to carry liability on. So when I'm at the park with 20 friends, do I have, or is it, you said 50 or more is an event?
What I said, and I'll repeat myself again.
I was here at one meeting and you said 50 people or more.
That's just what the reference was from our insurance agent. You know
That's
what,
what you said,
an idea.
50,
But
so-
I also did say that we are not trying to get crazy here, and we are not. We're not talking about a family reunion or anything like that. This organized event for the trick-or-treating gathered over 1,000 people.
Who chooses between which one's right and which one isn't though?
Right.
Well, a little bit of common sense, I guess. An organized event is an organized event.
Has anybody been
Not-
hurt? Has anybody made any
Well,
complaints?
liabilities are.
You're gonna hear a lot of bitching about it now, I'll tell you that, because this town is up in arms over this, and I'm one of them.
I think if we got $1,900 to pay for an extra phone line, we got $400 to pay for a trick or treat event.
It's not the value. If you would like to make a public comment, sir, you can come up and step up. Thank you for your comment.
Man,
Yeah.
I would like to ask this. with the way this insurance is for the boardwalk event, I know that the township has insurance on all of the property. So in the event, at that point in time, when you plan an event such as trick-or-treating on the boardwalk, is that person taking the total insurance responsibility for the entire thing at that point? Because there may be points in time, what I'm saying is, no insurance agent that I know of would ever tell you that you don't need extra insurance. They're going to sell it to you if they can. And lawyers always kind of go on the
First of all,
on the safe side.
to answer your question, no, the township would be named in any liability. But the township has to show due diligence.
Okay.
If it goes to court and we do not show that we were due diligent in trying to safeguard the township, it opens up the township to a larger lawsuit. Also bear in mind is that the organizer of any event, if they organize an event and there's an accident or someone's injured, that organizer is also liable, and it's important for them, for their own safeguard to have insurance.
Because such as April organizing that, this insurance is to cover her.
Also, yes, it's not just her, but it's also.
Right,
it's
but I
also
mean, it's to cover her liability, she planned this, okay, that's what I wanted to do.
And my homeowner's policy covers me, whether it's at my home or out my home.
Right, but why should you have to pick up the brunt of it? Why should you have to pay extra to do something nice for a community, is my whole point.
My name is Shane Gomez, and my question is, I watched the board tonight spend $4,000, $1,900 on extra phone line, and an extra $2,000 and some odd dollars to do the same job that someone else did for $2,000 less. Why do we have an extra $4,000 to spend tonight, but we don't have $500 extra to spend on events for our kids?
Would anybody like to comment on that? Would anybody else like to?
I think you said it, I don't know how many times.
Said what? I just asked what, we got, you said it's not in the township's best interest to spend money on things like that.
I did not say that. No, I did not say it's not the township's budget. What I said was that we have to safeguard the township. I thought I explained it clear enough, and there's nothing saying that Ms. Mason here can't go out and get donations to help cover for that.
Well, I'm not just talking about just Ms. Mason, I'm talking about future events like the one the chamber wants to throw in February. I mean, how can we grow this community if we can't do community events and always have worrying about getting sued? I mean, why can't the township buy extra insurance for that? Are we not insured for it anyways? I mean, because people walk down the boardwalk every day.
Yes, they do.
What kind of insurances does it take for the 4th of July parade?
That's not a fair answer.
No. Apparently we're idiots.
Wolverine sends me an insurance policy every year. Our name, yes, after the meeting, I will show that. Should be last time. After the meeting. Walmart. And we are named on that policy. If anything goes wrong, they are the first insurer. We're the second. Right, and I will show that to you after
That's
the
with the
meeting.
chamber. And we have to have insurance, like, the Lions and them having their dinner, their $100 dinner and that. That's why they didn't come to the chamber this year, because years ago, we didn't know we had to have that liquor license and all of that insurance, and they never had it. Well then, when Mary changed insurance companies years ago, a few years ago, they asked us if we had it. She said, no, we was never told we had to have it. They said, definitely, when some organization, the chamber is covered if we have something at the chamber. But if the Lions or the Catholic Church or you or anybody else wants to have something with the beer, they have to have their own insurance policy. And you have to get a liquor license and a bond and the insurance, which comes to $200 and some, and that's why the Lions didn't want to pay it. So they went to the American Legion one year, and this year they had their dinner without any beer because they didn't want to get that extra license. But like Lloyd and them said, yes, the insurance company said we have to cover it, and they said too, like April said, if something happens, I'm not just using you as an example. It comes on your insurance first, and then it comes back to the chamber. Like she said, it would come to you and then to the township. So it isn't just the township doing this, it's something we had to do with the chamber that we never did for years, but the last.
Isn't the chamber a private nonprofit organization though? It's not a government entity, so it's not the same.
We still have to have insurance on that.
Right, I gotta have insurance on my place too. And
Right,
we're not
but
saying
we
that
got
we,
insurance too.
we're not saying we shouldn't have insurance, we're saying why can't the township pay for it? Why should April have
Because
to,
it's different organization, I can see kinda, it'd be just like the chamber.
But like if
the chamber's different though, it's the
But
private.
if the township put this on, then would that be different?
Okay,
Yeah, but then they can't come on and put that, that would be like us saying, well, we want an Easter thing that we have always put on, but now we want you to do it, so you gotta pay the insurance. So I can see why they can't go with everybody coming up with different things that
Exactly.
they want the
Exactly.
the
We cannot
township
set
to
a
do.
precedent.
It'd be just like the Lions, they didn't want us, they don't wanna pay that, but you know that,
Yeah,
cause you're a
yeah,
Lion.
yeah.
And they wanted us to do it. Well,
Right.
we can't, if they're renting the hall or having the hall, they have to do it, so.
Yeah, but you're private
Otherwise,
and
you
you're,
could be getting
you're
in
certain,
with all
they
these
have to get it
different
because you're
rules.
having alcohol though, it's different.
Exactly, with
Yeah.
that, because they're having the alcohol.
If you're not having alcohol, you don't have to have it, right?
You,
They don't have to
if you
get,
rent the hall, you still give us your insurance policy number. So if you have a wedding there.
right, but
if
they
you're
don't have
not
to
selling
purchase
beer,
separate
You don't have to
insurance.
have a liquor license if you're not selling the beer. But if you're serving beer, you still have to have insurance.
Right.
And they come back on you first, and then they come back on the chamber or something, so.
Thank you, Bonnie. If anybody would like me to try to explain this a little clearer to you after the meeting, I'd be more than happy. So if you'd like to meet me after the meeting, I'll go over this with you individually if I need be. So, any other public comment? No other public comment? I have a motion to adjourn. Motion, support,
Yeah, second.
all in favor? Aye.